Yes, good afternoon everybody. I am Teacher Joker from Wachukachu School. I am currently handling grade 5/1 and for today our subject is English. Our topic for today is how to use generally in a sentence. So still this is a continuation of our lesson before, which is the adverb of frequency. Okay, so are you ready for our lesson today? So I hope everybody's ready so we could now start our lesson. Let's have a review first, of course. So previously we studied the adverb of frequency, which is always. So how many percent is always? It's 100%. Therefore, it means the verb happens 100%. And what does it mean by adverb of frequency again? When we say adverb of frequency, it describes how often an action happens. Okay? It describes how often an action happens or occurs. So that depends on the percentage. And here are the list of adverbs of frequency. First, we have always, usually, generally, often, often, or often. Okay? Often or often. Sometimes, occasionally, seldom, rarely, and never. Always has 100%. Usually is 90%. Generally is 80%. Often is 70%. Sometimes is 50%. Occasionally is 30%. Seldom is 15%. Rarely is 5%. Never meaning 0% or it never happens. Okay? So those percentage tells or shows how often the verb happens or occur. Okay, so let's continue our review for today. So last time I asked you to write the things that you always do, right? And these are the sample or the examples. Number 1, I always eat food. I always drink water. I always take a bath. I always go to bed at night. And the last example we have here, I always brush my teeth. So these are the things that we always do because we do it every day or every time. Okay? Another adverb of frequency that we learn is usually. So how much percent is usually? It's 90%. Okay, so usually is 90%. That shows how often that action verb happens. So we have some examples on the next slide. And these are the examples. I usually go to the market with my sister. I usually go to the market with my sister. She usually uses my tablet. I usually use my laptop. He usually eats pizza. And the last one, we usually go to the mall. So these are the things that we always do usually. Okay? And we said that adverb of frequency tells how often the action verb happens or occur. Like for example, in number 4, let's take number 4 as an example. He usually eats pizza. What is the verb in there? What is the verb used in that sentence? It's eat, right? And the adverb of frequency that was used is usually. Okay, now, the adverb of frequency modifies the verb which is eat. It tells how often does he eat pizza. And the answer for that is he eat pizza usually, or he usually eat pizza. Okay? So again, adverb of frequency tells how often that action verb happens or occur. And in these sentences, the verbs in here happens 90% because of usually. Okay? And now let's have our next adverb of frequency. We're going to learn how to use generally in a sentence. But the same question. What are the things that you generally do at home or at school? So the percentage of the adverb of frequency generally it's 80%. Okay, so generally is 80%. Okay, let's take a look at the examples on the next slide. Okay, we have here the examples. Number one, I generally get up at 6. I generally get up at 6. Number two, I generally have a walk in the afternoon. I generally have a walk in the afternoon. Number three, I generally go to the market. I generally go to the market. Number four, I generally play football. I generally play football. And the last example is, I generally watch cartoon movies. So these are the examples of generally. The verbs in here happens, how many percent? That's the verb in those sentences occurs or happens. Is it 100%, 90% or 80%? It's 80% because 100% is for always, usually is 90%, and 80% is for generally. And again, that percentage tells how often that verb happens. Like for example, in number one, the verb in there is get up. The verb is get up. The adverb of frequency that was used is generally. Okay, so how often does he get up at 6? How often does he get up at 6? The answer is he generally get up at 6. Okay? Number 2, walk is the verb in there. Generally is the adverb of frequency. So if I ask you, how often does he walk in the afternoon? He generally have a walk in the afternoon. Okay? Therefore, he generally walk in the afternoon. Walk happens 80%. Why? Because of the adverb of frequency, which is generally. Okay? Number 3, I generally go to the market. The verb is go. Okay, so how often does he go to the market? It's generally, or he generally go to the market. It's 80%. And so forth. For number 4, the adverb is play. And number 5, the adverb is, the verb I should say is watch. And the verb in number 4 is play. The adverb of frequency number 4 is the same, generally. Okay? So all the verbs in here happens 80%, or it occurs 80% because of the adverb generally. Now let's have a summary of our lesson for today. So the first lesson that we learn is always. So always is 100%, usually is 90%, generally is 80%. Okay, so this percentage shows how often the verb happens or occur in a sentence. So, for example, in the adverb of frequency, which is always, I always get up at 6 o'clock, meaning every time you get up at 6 o'clock, or every day you get up at 6 o'clock. Okay, but if you say, I usually get up at 6 o'clock, then the percentage of the verb get up is only 90%. Okay? And generally, if that verb happens only 80%. Okay? So that's the difference between always, usually, and generally. Generally has a lesser percent or percentage. So that's all about our review and our new lesson for today. So the same thing as before, I would like you to write what are the things that you generally do. What are the things that you generally do at home or at school? So you're going to write 10 sentences using the adverb of frequency, which is generally. Okay? Write this one on your notebook. And again, please take a photo and send in a line first. I will check first before you're going to take a video. Understand? Let me check first before you take a video. So write 10 sentences using the adverb of frequency, which is generally. And to remind you again, generally is 80%. So think of the verbs that you generally do at home. Okay? So if you have any questions about our topic, just ask in our line. Understand? So that's all for your activity today. So before I end up the lesson, I would like to remind you again your activity for today. Write the sentences on your notebook and then let me check first before you're going to take a video. Okay? And of course, thank you for listening and see you again tomorrow.